We have boss rush for you, Archfiends, and even Tistina. And make sure you guys smash the and crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. So boss rush is a concept that, you know, I've loved to see throughout the years. It's definitely one of those that kind of takes the cake for what you're trying to play into and build up. And honestly, I think this is kind of really cool to see that it can kind of act as an exceed-based strategy where you're basically able to push through and do things. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Day was this past weekend in Japan, and they were really bringing out some of the crazy stops for this. And I hadn't really considered playing Boss Rush as an Exceed deck, but the fact, you know, most of these new free monsters are pretty good. I mean, what, like a mill 5 from the deck? Seems kind of worth it just to be able to start to turbo up into some of the actual good cards that it kind of feels like that the deck can make. Also, Pot of Extra, tearing through the extra deck, I don't think is much of a problem for this deck, considering, you know, you got where you're going with, and also going second is not bad. Next up is the Archfiend good stuff. Now, what you're going to be doing with this is, obviously, the Fiendsmith cards are going to facilitate Giga making you an end board, which you got to understand if you're going through the bells and whistles of choosing to play these cards. You know, the OCG does have the mini Underworld Goddess, and it does kind of change some of the dynamic for what you want to do with this. Also, we are getting the Matador soon. When we do get that card, then I think that this deck is going to turn into a little bit more consistent of a monster. You know, you're going to see people out here trying out some, I think, off of the wall ideas, and that's going to be fine. Once those ideas start to click, though, then I think that's where you're going to see a lot of the genius kind of coming together for this sort of thing. We are also playing quite the mini Regenesis package in here. I mean, you're going to have no point or no problem getting into this because the little mini Archfiend guy searches for it. Next up here, Tistina with Canine cards. Now, this is honestly probably about as good as it's going to get when you're looking at this pile because, you know, Canine stuff's going to facilitate getting a nice backbone for you set up through the Ripper, which is honestly kind of the standard thing that we're used to seeing. You know, Ripper's job is just to set you up, kind of pad down a lot of the BS that this deck is going to be involved in. I do see that we are playing Saruja's Gorgon as well. I mean, you've got free fodder in this deck that you're going to be kind of using to get set up, to get off of the base of the ground and go. And honestly, that's not too bad of a discussion. Also, you know, if this deck can get to Rex Tremende, I think you're going to have a little bit of a fun time messing around with your opponent. Big boss monster, the Gober, but also with all of the good Tistina stuff, you get access to some pretty strong extra deck monsters, and that is going to cause a problem for your opponent. Next up here, we have Shaddoll. Now, I have seen a lot of cool Shaddoll variants out of the weekend. Fusion Deployment really, I think, turned this deck on its head and really turned it into kind of a nice little challenger recently, which is actually kind of fun. But also, we have to re-emphasize, you know, Fusion Deployment ups consistency. I do find it a little bit weird that this list was just playing 2 Shaddoll Fusion, because typically that's going to be one of the most powerful tools in your disposal. But unironically enough, it really did work out. And obviously, you know, you're playing pure Shaddoll at this point. You know, Lev Shaddoll Fusion is going to be one of the best cards you could have. Also, this build just play the Armageddon Knight instead of playing the Mathematician, which I guess is also fine. I like the Mathematician just a little bit better. It feels like it fills the void a little bit nicer for things. And then we've also got the Yes, Senjus with Nemurelia. Now, first of all, this is a crazy concept, man. Like, I don't know who came up with the idea, you know, using Nemurelia cards just to facilitate putting big bodies, or, you know, what you're trying to do with that, but also the Senjus just giving you control and setup. Yes, there should be an extra deck to this, but they just didn't include playing it because, you know, Gordian Slice is just going to be the cleanup tool for you to kind of do your thing for this. Obviously, you know, slamming down a thrust, toggling into those utility options. But I mean, this was Yu-Gi-Oh! Day this weekend, right? Like, people are going to play off of the wall crazy shit because these events are super turbo events. You know, you're playing super quick. There's no side deck. You know, your job is to get in, play the most obscure shit you can do and make a name for yourself. You know, the 2-1 crackback decks are crazy. Next up here, we actually have the, well, I see we're doing the little mini kit stuff, but this is just going to be branded with obviously extra steps. I do see we have a lot more of the lore cards kind of built into the deck, which is fine. We do also get to see the new Sword Soul Iris coming to town. That card really, I feel like, performed better than most of us were kind of expecting it to, because that card just puts a lot of pressure on the opponent, and it also does kind of get a lot of the searching jump started within this deck, which begins to start up in consistency. Once you start to see, hey, you know, I can make this card, now I can get off to the base game plan way more consistently, then that's where, you know, things are really going to shine for this deck. So it does look like a lot of the tools that were present in this list, I think, worked out very, very nicely. Next up here, oh boy, we have the Critters of the Forest with Sprite. It's kind of hard to believe that Sprite up until this point was pretty much limited in the OCG, like some of the worst limitations that you could have on a deck, but I believe that Sprite stuff is now back at full power. So you got people trying out, you know, which level 2 packages can we kind of bring to the table here to get set up? You know, what tools are going to be the most consistent? And you're basically starting to kind of see that now. I do see, you know, Soul Hat Rabbit's bringing out the Azure Rune. That's a tale as old as time, but it does tend to work out very, very nicely for what you're trying to do here. Of course, you know, it's just going to be level 2 turbo. I do see we are playing, what is the Watch Wizard or whatever its name is in here. But outside of that, I mean, just stack up Turbo Zeus if you need with the Downer Magician on the side play to clear things up. But outside of that, I mean, one starter and one of the other Sprite card feels a little bit bad for this list, but let's get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Day. And then we had, oh boy, the monster in the room. The, if you want to talk about just an unfun matchup to walk into, imagine you sit down and you're like, oh, hey, you know, I can't wait to play this round. Then you get slammed into border, you know, all of the Morganites resolving. They slam down card demise, and then they just deploy, you know, an Archfiend or Archlord Christia next to the Inspector board. I'd shit my pants too and cry. Because this is just, it's crazy to me because, you know, they've also still got Triple Solemn Judgment on their side. So whatever crazy investment of a field that this deck is putting out, it is not going to be a fun time to play around. So this is the kind of stuff that's just like, yeah, man, if it does actually end up being relevant, this is it. This is why we look at Stun and go, yep, triple card demise. There's bound to be something that's going to abuse that. And then we have Cool Tune. The fact that, you know, this deck is actually getting the chance to play Double Crown is fine. All of your ratios, you're going to maximize on all the monsters. Like, you have zero reason to not be wanting to extend through the monsters. Now, obviously, Burst Protocol, you do get the extra monster to play with, which does help out very, very nicely with this deck. Like, you actually do get a consistency upgrade that feels phenomenal. And it's actually a piece that you do go into. Also, this deck has so much searching. The up to twice per turn search ability that you get is a little bit insane. You do see we're also playing Synchro Overtake, and then one duelist, was it Alliance or whatever it is for the spell card. But yeah, all of these bits and pieces for this deck are stupid cracked. Being able to crown protect your monster or your floodgate, and then just go back into your turn and be like, oh yeah, by the way, so I'm just going to crack apart your board. It's really good. And then we have some Exo Sister. Well, I mean, of course, you're going to be playing the Siorihimes and the extra monster, but also we're playing Double or Nothing in here. So we could cheese Utopia. The fact that you can do the cheese Utopia BS in this deck is hilarious. You know, Exo Sister is very notorious for the little tools that the deck actually has access to, but you never really understand how dumb it is until you just get bonked upside the head by one of these ideas, and you're just like, huh? Where did that come from, and why are you playing that? Another good case in point here of the good madness that is ESG. So what do you guys think? Please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back there and dig it. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.